I was the first person to respond to this grenade attack. I was there from the initial boom until the capture and confession of Hasan Akbar. On the eve of March 23, 2003, 101st Airborne Division, 1st Brigade was at their intermediate staging base at a place called Camp Pennsylvania in Kuwait. So it's a little after midnight now, it's March 23rd. A grenade, or a device I should say at the time of what I know, rolls into the tent. I'm sitting at the end of the table where I could see down at the floor, and this thing roll into the tent, and there's sparks on the floor. I see these sparks. I say, we're in the land of not quite right, and this is a not quite right grenade that's sparking before it explodes. I jump up, run to the back of the tent to get up the commander. So for all these nights that we had been at this camp, he had gone to bed that particular night at 2200 hours. That was the earliest he had gone to bed. So he was asleep. I knew he didn't know what was going on in that tent at the time. So I went to the back of the tent to wake him up, tell him to get his boots on. We got to get out of the tent. There's a grenade up there about to explode. By this time, unbeknownst to me, it's an incendiary grenade that's starting a fire. We had a generator light set right outside of the tent area, and the lights had been turned off. And it's dark in the tent, you can't see anything. And knew vaguely where the center of the aisle was by the time he got his boots on and said, we're going to count to 3 and we're going to run to get out of the tent. The back of the tent where he slept was all boarded up, tied up. You couldn't get out of the back of the tent because of the air conditioning heating unit. I count to 3, we run. I make it on the outside of the tent, and he's not there. I turn around, whispering his name, and by this time I know that we're under some type of attack. I whisper his name, and he's not around. I hear a gunshot. I pull out my 9mm pistol. It has a magazine in it, but there's no ammunition. So a shot was fired prior to that shot the executive officer that was in the tent as well. So when that grenade came in, he saw what I saw with those sparks on the floor. And I wasn't concerned about where he was going to go in his actions because he could see it. I was concerned about the commander because he was asleep. So I cocked my weapon and realized nothing happens. And I know that the XO was shot. I just knew his voice. And I'm defenseless. I can't defend him. So I go to the TOC because I figure, well, I know they have weapons in there. But hoping that their ammunition is in magazines and prepared to fire. So I go in there, and they hear what I hear with explosions happening. So by this time, a grenade has been thrown into the same tent that I came out of. Actually, it was thrown into there while I was in there. I didn't know it at the time. By the time I get a weapon from the TOC, as well as nods, and of course ammunition, I go back out and go to my tent to try to find a commander and an executive officer, and they're not there. While I'm in there, another grenade has been thrown into the second tent, and another grenade has been thrown into the third tent, and someone else has been shot. I don't know all this at the time. I go to my tent, I look for an executive officer and the commander, and they're not there. At the same time, I'm trying to look for an enemy who shot Major Romaine, who threw the grenades into the tent. I go back in the TOC, order someone to look for the commander and the executive officer while I search for the enemy. So that first time that I was out there was no one outside. It was dark, eerie, and just no one there. I go back out and try to find the enemy. So now we know we're under attack. We got 2 people shot. I learned that grenades have been thrown in all the tents, 3 of the tents, I should say. And there's no sign of any enemy at all. By now, we're searching the area, trying to find the enemy, begin a process of treating casualties. Our commander had been, a grenade had gone off in that first tent. It knocked him back into a sleep area. He had shrapnel in his arm and bleeding like a pig. So when he was finally found, he was brought to the TOC, and he orders that we get accountability of our unit. So that call goes out on the radio. We get responses from all the units except one, and when they finally respond, we learn that one person is missing, Sergeant Hasan Akbar, and so are grenades and ammunition. So he becomes the suspect. That was a hard pill to swallow because we had to embrace the fact that this is one of our own. And how do we find them on this camp with 4,000 people and they all are dressed the same? I leave the TOC along with Major Kyle Warren that had been going to bunkers all night and checking on people, making sure they were doing the right things. And when we leave the TOC, I go one way to tell leadership what we're looking for and who we're looking for. And he's doing the same thing, but he realizes that there's a bunker that he had not gone to. I would think any attacker, especially in our military, we are trying to take out the head person in charge, the headquarters, the head element. Those are the decision makers. So from a perspective of it affecting the other members of the unit, well, that was big time. They knew that their commander had been injured. They knew several people within the brigade headquarters had been injured, attempted murder of myself and others, and it did affect them. The best thing that happened to us, again, we had just finished the orders process for the final time and were going to be crossing the border to go into Iraq very, very soon, but it ended up being approximately 48 hours after the attack. That was the best thing that happened to us, to have Camp Pennsylvania in our rearview mirror. No one ever talked about it the whole year we were in Iraq. No one ever mentioned that night. The people that were killed and wounded, those soldiers who survived, that their story needed to be told. And that's why I wrote the book, Embedded Enemy, The Insider Threat. If it can happen inside the close-knit brotherhood of the armed forces, then it can happen on any campus, community, or organization at any time and anywhere. What I've learned in all of this is that no level of education, ideology, or religion is above reproach. There is no profile. The insider threat is closer than you think. So although Akbar was not in communication with the terrorist organization and clearly has stated that he's the enemy of our country by wanting to destroy it, he also clearly carried out this attack under the premise of jihadi ideology. But he wrote what he wrote. He carried out the attack, and we know that that attack is under the premise of not only jihadi ideology, but American jihad and obviously jihadi radicalized. What I want you to know is to join me in the fight, if you will, to get these service members that were killed and wounded in this attack, the Purple Heart Medal, under the premise of jihadi ideology.